When you're married to someone for a long time and you get to the point where both of you have resentment for each other enough where you're just like, you know what, I'm thinking about divorce.
Yeah.
How do you come back from that?
First of all, I just want to normalize that place. Now, how do we get out of it? First thing to always look for, whenever you have resentment, you have self-betrayal. Because resentment, you think, oh, if that person just changed, then I would feel better, right? But wherever you have resentment, you have self-betrayal. What I mean by that is...
And both of us were there. We were at the point of divorce. We were at the point of like, done, deuces. You want to play that way? I'll play that way too. And maturity says, what would love do now? Maturity says, what is commitment? To me, commitment doesn't even occur until we're at a place like that and you say, I'm still here.
If someone listening feels like they're behind in love or healing, what would you say to them?
Easy. For me, it's like you're right where you need to be. Mm-hmm. You are so right, on time. You haven't missed anything. There is magic, there is lessons, there is juju, there is expansion for you in this season of life. And if you think that you're supposed to be somebody else, you are missing the invitation of this season. Mm-hmm. And
one of the most important things we can do when it comes to all of this is to care, but not carry. One of the magical things, the part two to that is...
So what do you say to parents that kind of lead with fear?
A lot of people unconsciously hurt their children and they stop them from creativity, trying to block you at all areas. Oh, you're gonna jump off of that, you're gonna get hurt, right? And I'm constantly doing that. And I'm not giving you the opportunity to figure out your own body, to figure out your own boundaries, to experience what life can be when you don't have somebody trying to protect you at all times.
People are always talking about you can't pour from an empty cup, fill your own cup. What does that actually practically look like for someone to fill their own cup?
So let's look at the cup as our body. If my body has cracks in it, if my body isn't a whole vessel, no matter what type of life comes in, I'm pouring out. And I'm always feeling like stress because I never feel full. Our vessel isn't secure. How do we get it secure? Nervous system work. The relationship with your body to know the signals of your body so you can catch yourself when you're starting to crack a little bit and start to tend to those areas. That's step number one. Step number two, which is so big.
What do y'all think about talking about politics on social media? I know that there's people who have big followings that refuse to do it.
Yeah.
Our roots have disease on them. Our roots as a country are diseased. And we refuse to look at the roots. We keep spraying the top, going, grow. We got to get to the source of what has been occurring in this country since its inception as we know it.
Welcome to the Sacred Thomas Podcast.
If you know that there's more in you, but then something just keeps holding you back, it's time for The Bridge. It's a live in-person breakthrough led by Preston and Alexi, and I trust them fully because they don't just talk transformation, they live it. So if you feel like there's something holding you back and you want to finally move through it, go to thebridgemethod.org. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the podcast.
All right, we're live.
We're live.
Back with Preston and Alexi.
Yes. Round two.
Yeah, round two. How y'all feeling today?
Good.
Yeah, good. Yeah,
good.
Family stuff is always interesting and funny.
Yeah, we're in summertime, so the kids just want to be around us all the time, and they don't understand the concept of us working from home. So it's like, what do you mean you have to work? Can I sit on your lap? Can I be there? Can I sit and watch? And not today. So we got to get them out of the house.
Yeah. A little bit of time for you guys.
You know what's crazy about that, though? I'm going to let you go into your question. I think we've done such a good job that it's cursed us in that most kids want to leave home and get away, and our kids never want to do anything but be here.
Yeah, because they make it so magical and fun. And
it's an actual, like as a kid, I always wanted to be away from my family at all times. And it's so interesting because we have been we've worked a lot of our own trauma and shame and guilt and worked through a lot of our own demons. And in doing so, we've created such a safe environment for them that this is what it looks like when, at some level, when you have a healthy family structure. It's trippy.
That's amazing. It's like you made your own sanctuary over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So working on it.
The first question, how does someone do that? How does someone create a sanctuary in their own family?
Such a great question. I think first I'll say we're still learning, right? Our kids are still young. Our oldest is 7, our youngest is 3. But I think one of the biggest things that to me is foundational is feeling safe in our own body to hold when they're having big stuff come up. So for instance, we have a lot of fights, a lot of sibling fights here that happen on the regular. And in order to meet them in that and have them feel heard, we can't have their fight escalate us. Not that it doesn't happen, right? Because nobody's perfect, but we do our best to really maintain like a calm and regulated state so that we're the baseline. And we're going to co-regulate them to calm them down, to listen to them, to hear them out, to give them the hug, to be the safe foundation so that we can soothe them and we can actually get to some sort of resolution first. And so I think knowing that they can always come to us with anything, no questions asked, that's huge.
Yep. I think it's also, we both play our roles well. And I'll just speak for me from a fatherhood perspective. I think it's super important that there is a masculine energy in the home that is direct and a firm boundary that is also loving. I think most people experience that, but it was dangerous and sometimes hurtful for most people. And so I've been super aware as the conscious dad that I always wanted to hold the boundary, right? Like when they hit each other or break something or do something on purpose, like just yesterday, one of our youngest, he's in that stage where he's stuttering a lot. And he's the youngest. So he's trying to find his words. And the other kids are fast and they're quick and they can ask, mommy, daddy, I want this, I want that. And he's going, I. And our little girl cut him off. And he got so mad that he grabbed her arm and started wringing it and just squeezing it as tight as possible. And the conversation that him and I had, he did not want to apologize. He's like, she cut me off. I'm not saying sorry. I'm like,
sounds like me as a kid.
Yeah, his 3-year-old brain was like, no, this
I'm like,
is not fair.
Man. So the rule in this family is when you hurt somebody, you apologize, whether it was intentional or unintentional.
Yeah.
And so until you do that, we're going to be in the room together. And in the room, there's no dinosaurs, there's no playing, there's none of that. We regulate. I'll give you a hug. I'll sit with you. I'll lay next to you. I often put my hand on his chest and I say, Daddy's got you. And he'll be, I'm mad at you, Daddy. I'm mad at you. And I say, I understand, Bubbas.
Yeah.
And I love you so much. And if you want to go outside and play, if you want to go back and play with your toys, we got to say sorry. That's it. And there's no flex in that. Yeah. And so over time, that level of repetition, that level of boundary actually feels like safety.
So true.
And it regulates the whole household because all the other kids know this is how we operate here.
Yeah, like I'm always going to be taken care of, whether it's by my parents or by my siblings. Like we're looking out for each other and we're creating a fair and just environment. The other thing I was going to say that I think is really special that we do, and obviously we have the space for it. Like we've got this big property, it's fenced in, we've got dogs that are really great and protective. So we let the kids go out in the back and we let them be sovereign beings. We let them explore. We let them play with lizards and bugs and create adventures. And they can't get into too much trouble out there, right? But feeling that sense of independence of I have a place to go where I'm not going to be micromanaged, where, it's just a full yes. That creates a sense of confidence, I think, in a child to go, wow, my parents trust me. They trust me to go out and explore and to be autonomous and to come back if we need something. And I think that's helping to build a sense of that inner sovereignty and safety of like, yeah, I can do things. I can do things on my own. And I think, we laugh about this a lot because we come from the generation that we were latchkey kids. So we were just like gone until 10 o'clock. And our parents were like, oh, just be back before dark. We're like on 25-mile bike rides in like some weird neighborhood. And our parents had no idea where we were at. And, now things are a lot different. But it feels good to give them some sense of that like free play where they can just be themselves and not have to worry about, the world that we live in.
Now, what do you say to the parent that they feel like they're making their kids safe by actually controlling instead? I kind of grew up in a way where we were free in one way, but in another way, she really didn't want us to get hurt.
Yeah.
And we didn't have my mom and dad got divorced when I was 7, so I didn't have necessarily the masculine dynamic. So what do you say to parents that kind of lead with fear?
Yeah. So I'll start with, this is why the village is so important.
Yeah.
This is why uncles, this is why grandfathers, this is why aunts is so important. Because left to our own devices, if that parent is not doing their own inner work, if they are not working through their own traumas, then they will bleed those traumas onto those children and dress it up like love. And a lot of people unconsciously hurt their children and they stop them from creativity. So for example, we say this in our work. If you say, hey, Preston, give me a ride to downtown Austin. And I say no, I immediately create in you creativity. Because if you can't do it by way of me, you have to figure out some other way to get to downtown Austin. Well, if I'm trying to block you at all areas, you're going to jump off of that, you're going to get hurt, right? And I'm constantly doing that. Then I'm not giving you the opportunity to figure out your own body, to figure out your own boundaries, to figure out like to experience what life can be when you don't have somebody trying to protect you at all times.
Yeah, I think a child really needs to learn critical thinking for themselves and cause and effect, right? Obviously within boundaries. Like we don't want to be crazy and we're not going to like give our child a knife and let them run around with that, right? Like, we got limitations. But I do think there is something, in a lot of the more conscious schools of thought for schooling children. They talk about yes rooms and how important yes rooms are, meaning you have a room where everything is a yes. Everything the child can play with, everything the child can touch, everything the child can draw with. There is no that exists in that room. And it's important to have spaces like that so the child feels like they have freedom to explore and be themselves without containment. But the containment lives in like the yes that the parent sets up. So I think any parent that's trying to control and constantly, and I get it, like we want to keep our kids safe, right? We don't want anything to ever happen to them. But then we're not setting them up for success in the real world, because when they leave at 18, we're not going to be following them around going, don't do that, don't do that. And like, they've got to have a good head on their shoulders to go, you know what? I understand cause and effect. I know that if I make this choice, this might happen. And we have to give them the ability to learn that deductive reasoning for themselves so that they're empowered as an adult in a crazy, ever-changing world.
Right. And it makes so much sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think also if you think about, like, did you go to college?
Yeah.
So
Texas State.
LSU, Southern University.
There you go.
The wildest kids in college were the ones who had parents.
Always.
Their
100%.
butts,
Always.
right?
100%.
They went crazy.
100%.
And the most responsible kids in college, myself included, were the ones who had parents that were like, figure it out, right?
Yeah.
Because I would be 25 miles away at 8 years old. I had to be aware, especially back in the day, of the like child molester vans that could pull up and get you, right? So there's a hypervigilance. There's a resiliency that was built inside of me because my parents didn't have their claws in me. Now, on the opposite side of that, yes, did I get into a lot of trouble at times? Yes. But I think there's something about, it's the setup of the parent knows best. I think that's the thing we have to attack. This idea that because I am older than you, I know what's best for you. Because what you might unconsciously do is beat out all the genius of that child. You might squeeze the life out of the music that wants to be birthed through this child because of your own idiosyncrasies and wounds that occurred by way of men and people getting hurt. So I think there is an important understanding also around the construct of hurt, right? I don't want my kid to get hurt. Well, if I reframed hurt to, I do want my kid to grow. I do want my kid to learn. I do want my kid to experience the magic of life and be able to bounce back from stuff. Well, then that would change how I would see them jumping off of the side of something. As I go, they're figuring out their body.
Yeah. That's honestly one of the hardest things about being a parent for me, and we talk about this a lot, is this idea that as much as we want to do our best as parents for our children, there's this line that we have to constantly be aware of and intentional about, where we are the stewards for them to step into themselves versus here's what I think is right. Here's what I think is wrong. I'm now going to give you, you're now going to inherit my frame of the world, my paradigm of the world, as if it's truth. And I think one of the most powerful things we can do, which we're attempting to do every single day, is to teach our kids to question even our paradigms and question like, well, what feels right for you? What do you think? Why do you think we do this? And that is really cool because, again, we've got a 7-year-old who can let us into his emotional world a little bit more. And then we've got a 3-year-old and then 5-year-olds. But you can start to see that type of thinking has them going against the pack. Like when, we put them at school and at camps and we start to see like they don't always follow suit, which is frustrating at times. It is frustrating. Like sometimes we're like, oh, can you just join? Can you just do the thing?
Seriously.
and be like all the other kids. But it's good because what we see is we see, an adult 15 years in the future who makes their own decisions and doesn't do what everybody else is doing. Like really goes, well, what feels right for me? And I think that it's the hardest thing as a parent because it would be so much easier if they just like fell in line.
Facts.
Right. But to not beat out the questioner or the philosopher or the one that's like curious and wants the visionary who wants to do their own thing, like those are their inherent gifts. And if we can cultivate them, even though it makes it harder for us at times as parents, we know it'll pay off in the long run.
Facts.
Right. Yeah. And the opposite, the control, it's going to be hard for you to find your identity as a child.
Totally.
So that makes so much sense.
Totally.
So the last podcast we did, I think out of any podcast I've ever done, it resonated with so many people.
Yeah.
So many people. Why do y'all think that is?
Because relationships are hard. Love is hard.
We talked a lot about our relationships.
And we all want love. Like we all want to feel seen. We all want to feel met. We all want our relationships to work. And, I think a lot of us grew up with models of either like it's perfect fairy tale scenario or it's shit and terrible and toxic. And we rarely have conversations that highlight the ups and downs and the contrast that love is. And it's healthy. I know for us, when we started openly talking about like our ups and downs in relationships and we got that from other couples, like we'd go out to dinner, we're like, oh, it feels so good just to feel normal. Like we're not the only ones that have gone through some hard things. And I think it's really helpful to hear that.
Yeah, on a macro level as well. I think we're coming into the age of authenticity.
Yeah.
And I think that overall people are waking up to the lies that have been sold to us, where there's been in some ways an attack on the family, right? All the music and television is all about, hoes and getting yours, and I'm gonna get mine, and the Glorrillas and the Cardi B's and all of that stuff. And there's also people just want to feel loved, and they want to feel, as she just spoke to, normalized in their how challenging it is, but how beautiful it is at the same time. And I think what really struck a chord for people was, I think a lot of women are longing to be loved in the way that I was describing my love for her.
Out of 8 billion people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that goes and is a part of the attack. For me, it's a part of my own maturity. You can find podcasts from 11 years ago, me saying things like, I'm not responsible for her at all. She's responsible for her stuff. I'm responsible for mine. And I had this sort of like, we aren't a unit. We are when it's convenient for me, and it's not when I hurt her feelings or she hurts mine. And so learning and maturing, right, to be married and to be battle tested. Most people run. Most of us watched our moms and dads divorce and run away and never come back and hate each other and talk crap about each other. And so to see a demonstration, and that's what we're coming into, right? Information, yes. Transformation, oof. Demonstration, that's the pocket. Yeah. That's the one that we're all saying, sign me up for that. Show me. Because it's very hard to be what you can't see. And I think that there is a wave of understanding that embodiment is the most important thing in the game. And so when we spoke about nervous system work and about both of us cleaning up our own nervous system so that we could love each other better, I think it struck a chord.
Yeah,
absolutely. You brought up marriage. It makes me think of a question that we have from the audience. No, I think I remember it. The question was, when you're married to someone for a long time and you get to the point where both of you have resentment for each other enough where you're just like, you know what, I'm thinking about divorce.
Yeah.
How do you come back from that?
First of all, I just want to normalize that place, especially if you've been married for a long time and you have kids. You got a lot of reasons to find to be resentful, because resentment comes from failed expectations that were never communicated, right? And most of us weren't taught how to actually communicate what we need or what we desire in a way that's really healthy and loving. And so it comes out like criticism. It comes out like passive aggressiveness. It comes out like sarcasm or an eye roll or no sex for 3 months or whatever it is, right? And when you have kids, you are tired. And it's a type of tired you don't understand until you have kids. Then you have kids and you're like, wow, I understand tired now. And when you're tired and your resources are low in your own biology, in your nervous system, your window of tolerance is so small. Therefore, any little thing that happens that used to be okay when you were well slept and well fed and all the things tips you over into survival mode. And so we've got most new moms and new dads operating in survival mode for the first few years after having kids. Now add years on top of that of being married and all the little things that come up. Resentment is so normal. Now, how do we get out of it? First thing to always look for whenever you have resentment, you have self-betrayal. And this is the hard pill to swallow, right? Because resentment, you think, oh, if that person just changed, well, then I would feel better, right? But wherever you have resentment, you have self-betrayal. What I mean by that is wherever I'm resenting my husband, I'm resenting him for something I was unwilling to own and ask for within myself. And I'm looking at him going, you need to do it for me, unconsciously, right? Why aren't you doing the dishes? Why aren't you helping me with the things? Why aren't you fill in the blank? But because I was unwilling to acknowledge my needs and desires as legitimate and own them and bring them to my partner, I have now taken myself out and made him the villain without ever actually taking ownership and having a conversation. So the way we get out of resentment is we have to start first with looking at like, where have I been actually ignoring myself, not honoring myself, not allowing my voice to be heard in a loving way? Because most of the time when we're at like resentment at the top, we just want to yell at our partner. We're like, it's all your fault. You're not fill in the blank. We did that.
So the key is loving way, and like communicating what your needs in a loving way.
Well, let me just get on this because resentment is a byproduct. It's an after effect. It's of self-betrayal over time, usually. And so responsibility is the key.
Yeah.
As long as I'm assigning any of resentment or hatred or anything over there, whatever I'm pointing it at actually owns me until I take it back. It's easy to place blame, but placing blame never leads to fulfillment. It never leads to building bridges.
It never leads to change.
So we have to take responsibility and ask ourselves, where did I cause, allow, or perpetuate what I am currently upset about? Where did I cause it? I wasn't willing to say this over here in the beginning of the relationship. And when I started on my period or whatever the case may be, I shut him out. That's how I caused it. That's how I could take responsibility for this, right? How did I allow it? I saw 3, 4, 5, 6 things that didn't work for me. But because of the people pleasing that I stepped into as a child, I wasn't willing to say it. So I thought it in my head.
And I just said, it's fine. It's fine. It's not a big deal.
Perpetuate, right? Where did I see that this was going downhill? And I just threw lighter fluid on it. There's so many people, self-included, who've been in this space where you went, okay, you want to go there? I'll go there too. And we keep perpetuating the problem to the point where we get to so much resentment. And both of us were there. We were at the point of divorce. We were at the point of like, done, deuces. You want to play that way? I'll play that way too. And maturity says, what would love do now? Maturity says, what is commitment? To me, commitment doesn't even occur until we're at a place like that. And you say, I'm still here.
That's the piece. Because to be honest, it would be so easy to walk away.
Facts.
Like
short-term, easy.
Right. For the moment. And we live in this culture where we want that like short-term instant gratification, instant comfort, like just make the pain go away. Right. And even that question, how do you get out of it? Make the pain go away. Like we're looking for the pain to go away, but the pain is an invitation to a deeper initiation of what's there for us as individuals, what's there for us as a couple in a committed partnership. And, we always come back to this idea of like the higher self. There's a higher self at play that's actually like looking at this behavior going, nah, like you're better than this. There's more. Like stop. But we can't see it because we're in the personality, right? And the personality wants to be right, wants to be justified, wants to all the evidence to be acknowledged, wants to be seen, wants to be heard. And we get to have that. But from the understanding that that's the personality that is built over decades of wounding and betrayals and all the patterns that have made us who we are, not right, wrong, good or bad, but just made us who we are. But the higher self is like, you are love. You are light. How would love hold this? How would you meet yourself first with love? How would you hold yourself in your power if you truly knew who you were? And that's a whole different game. And when he says maturation, that's really, I think, what landed for both of us, because we were at the point where we were like, you know what? It would probably just be easier to like cut ties, still work together, still co-parent, like still do the thing, but start fresh. But wherever you go, there you are. Right. So we get into another relationship. Same personality is going to show up. Same patterns are going to show up until we actually take that invitation that the higher self is gifting us and going, you ready? You ready for the next level? It's here. It's right in this pile of resentment if you want it. But you got to go in. And it's going to be hard.
Yes. Yeah. The fertilizer.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, let me just say this. One of our mentors and the person who married us, Michael Beckwith, said, a bad day for the ego is a good day for the soul. And that, to me, anytime I start to point at anything, I know that I'm closer than I think to a breakthrough. I'm closer than I think to the thing I've been asking for. And all she's doing, or the traffic is doing, or Trump is doing, or whatever is doing, is holding up a sacred mirror as a reminder to reclaim all the power that I've assigned over to those things, and to come back home to the self and love and get aligned. And yes, sometimes love says no. Sometimes love says absolutely not. And it's where you do it from that matters. We talk to our kids about this all the time. It's the how, it's the context. You can be a no, but can you clean up your context so it's a clean no and not a reactive no, not a revengeful no?
Yeah.
Those are different.
Yeah. And I think the thing too is, people want happiness. The minute you say, I want happiness, you're going to be given sadness.
Facts.
To understand what true happiness requires. People say they want compassion and connection in their relationship. Okay, well, you're going to see all the pieces and the parts where you're disconnected and lack intimacy. People say they want joy. Okay, well, you're going to feel at the bottom. People say they want success. Okay, well, you're going to feel all the areas where you're failing in order to go, okay, what is still here that I've been unwilling to look at or change? That is an invitation to my next level.
Facts.
Because the thing is, we all want the next level, but most of us aren't willing to do the work.
Ooh, okay. Let me just tap on this real quick.
Ahead,
She got me going.
Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a proverb that essentially states, when a bird is on a branch or a tree, its faith is not in the branch or the tree. Its faith is in its own ability to fly, in its own wings. And to me, this is a metaphor or analogy for life, where if I put all of my weight on this branch holding me, you make me feel good.
Yeah.
You make me feel abundant. You make me feel whole. You make me feel sexy. If the branch breaks, then so does my confidence. So does my power. And so the game is always to clean up all the areas where I have outsourced my power and take it back to the self. Where am I not loving me in such a way that it doesn't matter what happens beneath me? Because there's something inside of me that is more powerful than what is beneath me.
And going back to the idea of self-betrayal, this is what I mean. Most people are not loving themselves to their fullness, but they expect their partner to. Most people are not showing up for themselves, having their own back, tending to their feelings, but I want my partner to.
Church.
How? How can we expect somebody to do for us what we don't even know how to do for ourselves? And that was one of my biggest realizations in our dynamic, was recognizing I'm trying to get my partner. I'm mad at him for not being able to give me what I've been unwilling or unable to give myself. How could I put that on him? That's mine. That's my work to do. That's my higher self going, babe, no, this is yours. And from that place of doing my own work, can I choose him? From that place of doing his own work, can he choose me? And until we're really filling ourselves up, filling our own cups, we hear that all the time. You can't pour from an empty cup. Have we actually thought about where the level of our water is in our cup? Most people don't. We hear that and we're like, oh yeah, self-care. But no, it means tending to your feelings. It means tending to your needs. It means tending to your inner child that feels wounded and threatened when something happens in your partnership. Most of us aren't doing that work. But that's the work that's required. If we want a healthy relationship with another being, we need a healthy relationship with ourselves first.
I always have so many follow-up questions, and then you guys answer them as you're going.
Perfect.
No, but what does that practically look like? So yeah, you said people are always talking about you can't pour from an empty cup, fill your own cup. What does that actually practically look like for someone to fill their own cup? I know it's probably different for so many different people.
Yeah.
It is and it isn't.
Yeah.
Because for instance, if we said, what does it practically look like for a cat to climb a tree? There's going to be a few different ways, but basically a cat is a cat is a cat. Yeah. And it's similar for humans. And one of the first places to start, and this is what we teach in our work in the Bridge experience, which is a heart surgery, It is one of the most powerful workshops in the whole world. And I suggest anybody who can get in one of those rooms.
Yeah.
But what we teach in those rooms is somatic work. And somatic means the wisdom of the body. A lot of us lean on our intellectual personality, but the body has its own intelligence. And so how do we give the body the space to lead us, the space to free us? Breath. Breath is one of the first keys to returning home to love, to self. Where's my breath? Right? A lot of times what we don't understand is when we go into these sympathetic, fancy word for fight, flight, freeze, or appease, or we go into a stress response, the first thing that goes away is the breath. And we get, the body sends a chemical cocktail, and it sends all the energy into our hands so we can fight, into our legs so we can run, and we lose cognitive awareness, right? So we have less oxygen in the brain, and therefore we cannot actually communicate our needs.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest places to start is call a timeout for yourself.
Yeah.
Right? When them kids are being absolutely bonkers and they're knocking stuff over and they're fighting and one of them screaming here and this person's doing that. And you know what I said? Timeout. Everybody just take a breath.
Yeah, we'll take some of the kids outside, a couple of the kids in the room.
Or I'll call her and say, hey, I need to step out, right? I take that bike right outside and I'll ride that bike down the street and I'll reset my nervous system. Because at the moment I'm dysregulated, then the whole house is in trouble, right?
What's really big about this, because again, filling your own cup starts with knowing that your cup is foundationally secure to hold water, life, right? So let's look at the cup as our body. If my body has cracks in it, if my body isn't a whole vessel, no matter what type of life comes in, I'm pouring out. And I'm always feeling like stress because I never feel full.
Facts.
And that's most people. Most people are a cup with cracks in it. And they're going, fill me up, money, fill me up, attention, fill me up, love, fill me up, a nice body, fill me up, please make me feel full. But we don't get that the foundation of our self, our home, our vessel isn't secure. How do we get it secure? Nervous system work. Knowing not that you get to a perfect state where you're always perfectly calibrated and regulated, but you have a relationship with your vessel where you're like, oh, I can start to feel this is getting a little crunchy. You're going to have to tend to this area before it cracks.
Facts.
That the relationship with your body, to know the signals of your body so you can catch yourself when you're starting to crack a little bit and start to tend to those areas. That's step number one. Step number two, which is so big, is our emotional world. Emotions, energy and emotion. Most of us put that energy and we suppress, we stifle. We go, nope. Sadness comes up. Nope, not today. I got to be productive today. Breakup happens. No, not this week. I've got to speak on stage. I got to be on. Anger. Oh no, women aren't allowed to be angry. You'll be called a crazy bitch, right? All this emotion, all this energy wants to be emotion, and we suppress and we stifle. And what we do is we're literally, it's like a pressure cooker. We're taking all that energy and we're going, no, not now, not now. Either because it's not convenient or because we don't know how to be with it powerfully. Let
me tap on that for a second. Then we become sophisticated addicts.
Yes.
And that's where our society is at right now, where we're constantly chasing the next high to put a little Band-Aid or some gum on that crack.
Yeah.
And so, I'll get some Amazon hit, or I'll take a hit of some music or some social media scrolling, and we're constantly trying to get high so that we don't have to face the stuff that is bubbling and boiling out of us. And so just a caveat to all of this is, if you have not addressed your core wounds and your core traumas and the things that happened to you as a child, and the molestations and the rapes and the watching your parents fight or break up or all of that, if you have not addressed those are living in your body.
Yeah.
And the body will break itself as a tap, a whisper, a tap in the 2x4.
Yeah.
Right? That's how I got into this work. My body, first it said, when I was 17, it gave me a skin disease, and no dermatologist could figure it out. Every time I went in the sun, every part that the sun was hitting, that would boil up and I would have hives everywhere, on my eyelids, on my toes, everywhere. I had to put steroids everywhere. I wore gloves while I was driving, right? That's my body. Knock, 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 knock. Yeah. P, you're not listening. You've been through a lot of trauma, homie. You got to cry. You got to feel. When your friend got shot in the head, you didn't actually cry. You didn't actually feel that. When your parents broke up, you didn't actually move through that. When you got put in special education, you didn't allow yourself to feel the grief and the shame, homie. Your body, my body, just knock, 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 knock. 25 years old. I'm sitting in front of Abercrombie and Fitch, shirt off, trying to be sexy and funny. I'm like, yo, my heart feels like it's doing something weird. Well, that was my body again saying, okay, you didn't catch the skin one. Yeah. Now we're going to break this heart. Because you have to, right? You either use it or you lose it. And I wasn't using the fullness of my human experience because I was taught very early, probably like you, that big boys don't cry. To man up, to not be a little wussy, don't be a little bitch, figure it the fuck out. And so you grow up in a place like that, in a scenario like that. By the time you're 13, you don't even know how to get to it anymore. Yeah. And so I had to rework and rewire my entire nervous system to feel safe again, to feel what I wasn't willing to feel back then. And that, as a baseline, is a place to start.
And I'm going to tap on that because I think when most people hear safety, and this is what I did too, we think, okay, in order for me to feel safe, my environment must be safe, meaning the people in my environment must be safe. And we start to look at our people and we go, you're not safe because you said that thing, or you did that thing to me, so you're not safe, or you remind me of my dad, so you're not safe. And we start to unconsciously process the level of safety that our environment and the people in it are giving to us. But as Preston said with that story about the bird, when we know that we are a safe environment, it doesn't matter what's happening out here. Of course, basic needs of survival, yes, that does matter. But once we're past that, a safe body is a body that knows that if I'm feeling sad because my friend got shot, I can feel that, right? I'm going to allow that. If I'm feeling angry because my parents split up and my mom moved away when I was 9 years old, I can feel that. Every time I honor that energy and emotion, my body goes, yep, we're safe. We're safe to feel. It's safe to feel. It's safe to be human. It's safe to feel. It's safe to experience this thing called life. Therefore, my cup is whole. Therefore, more of life can come in because no matter what gets poured in my cup, whether it's my favorite lemonade or acid, I got it. I got it because I am a whole vessel and I also have standards and boundaries that I know, no, I actually don't want acid. Thank you very much. Let me pour that out and clean myself out so that I can move forward for the lemonade that I'm calling it. And that's what we mean. Like self-care and self-love is not just bubble baths and like all the stuff we see on social media. It's infuriating sometimes to see that because it diminishes what is actually required. Self-love is loving all the parts of yourself that you currently judge. Self-love is going into the shadow parts of your personality that you don't want anyone to see because you have so much shame around if people ever knew this about me, or if they ever knew what I thought, or if they ever knew what I did, they wouldn't love me. Can you love those parts? Can you go in and tend to those parts? Not make them okay or right, but just bring compassion and love and actually tend to it and deal with it. And that's the piece that most people are unwilling to do, is the deeper work that's required to love ourselves. Means we got to go into the parts of ourselves that we have judged most harshly and that we have hidden in hopes that the world will never see.
So I go back to practically, how does that look like? Are you writing your thoughts in a journal? Are you crying?
Journaling's great.
You crying it out? Yeah,
journaling's great. Journaling's a great first step. But here's the thing that most people miss. People want to heal in isolation. Why? Because it's shameful in our culture to feel anything other than happy and joyful and awesome all the time. Good vibes only. Right? So we heal in isolation, hoping that we can get some sort of fix to make ourselves feel better, to be better humans. But the issue is we are born into relationship, we are wounded in relationship, and we heal in relationship. Therefore, we need to be in relationship within community to actually fully heal, because we also need to know that it is safe. Let's say you're the same journaling practice. If you were journaling the thing that you went through that you didn't want to tell anyone about, if you got into a room where you felt inherent safety, and you showed up and we held that safe space for you to just feel it, to be witnessed in it, to be held in it, to fucking do the ugly cry that you don't want anybody to see. And we just held you with so much love. That creates a double healing. First, you release that emotion that's been stored forever. Second, your neurobiological connection goes, oh my gosh, they haven't shunned me. I'm not ostracized. They actually love me more. Oh, now your body gets some real-time feedback, embodied experience, confirmation. It is safe to feel. I'll still be loved. Now, granted, don't do it in front of just anybody. That's why the space you're in matters. But if you can find a really safe space, this is what we do in Bridge. This is literally the work we've been doing for over a decade, is we create the safest container for your yes to be available. Sometimes that yes is, I need to heal some traumatic shit right now. Sometimes that yes is, I want to be my fullest expression, and it might piss all of you off. Yes. Do you know how hard, like going back to what we were saying, a yes room?
Yeah.
Let me tell you an example. So, and I have permission to share this from this person. A lot of amazing stuff happens in Bridge. And sometimes the trauma that people go through is more around not being able to express their own joy.
Yeah.
Right? There are communities where it's okay for us to be down and out and angry and feeling all the feels, but how dare you celebrate? How dare you shine bright?
Yeah.
And we had a gentleman in Australia who grew up with 5 brothers, and those brothers and his dad were watching TV. He was probably 7, 8, or 9 years old. And the ballet was in town, and he got up and started doing some of the dances that were happening on the TV. And the dad looked at him and looked at the brothers and said, only faggots dance. Nobody in this house dances like that. Well, now fast forward to, let's call it 20 years later. This dude's now in our room, and we use music as a third facilitator. And everybody's dancing, and we're transitioning from something, we're losing it. And we keep noticing, right? That's why we keep the room small enough. We keep noticing this dude's not dancing. So we tap on it, tap, 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 tap. What's that about? Right? He kind of takes it in. This is a safe space. Opens it up. I don't know how to dance because I stopped when I was 7. Right? Now, him having to push through, first of all, just the sharing of it, healing.
Yeah.
But then to have his somatic body feel the safety of the room and the celebration of go ahead. So we put music back on. Let him dance and be seen in the thing that has been the most shameful little secret in the dark that he's held for all these years. Now, this dude was about to get married at that point, and a part of why he was even walking in the room was because his fiance was like, I love you, I want to marry you, but I feel like you're cut off from something. Well, all of that came full circle when he recognized the part of him that was unable to tap into his own celebration and joy in that way. And so that's a prime example of whether it is with one safe person in your world or whether it's in one of the rooms like us, where you come into Bridge and you go through this whole process. Key components here: find your breath.
Yeah.
Make a list of all the things that you feel shame or guilt around. Find a safe person to share that thing with, and continuously bring awareness to when your body is clenching up or tightening, and go back to the breath. I think those 3 things, regardless of whether you read a bunch of books or go to workshops or seminars, would be extremely helpful.
Yeah, I'm going to add one more to that is honor your emotions when they're coming through, because that is a part of what comes with a car. right? Like where human beings, emotions come with the car of being a human being, like a steering wheel comes with the car. And it's like, it's as if we're in the car and we want to drive somewhere and we're like, why is there a steering wheel here? I don't want a steering wheel to be here. It's like, why is there anger here? I don't want anger to be here. It comes with a car. And there's a gift in it. When you allow yourself to feel it, you keep the vessel clean and you keep it available to feel more of life. Because aliveness is not just joy and gratitude and pleasure and sexual feelings. It's also anger and sadness and grief. And to the extent of which we cut off the quote unquote bad emotions that we're trying to avoid is how much we cut off our joy, our happiness, our pleasure, our ability to actually feel how magical life is.
That's real. That resonates. I'm going to ask a question from the audience. It's going to kind of switch gears a little bit, but how do you deal? And I'm going to ask it exactly how they asked it. Okay.
It's like, these are not my words.
How do you deal with a spouse who lacks ambition and is content with living a sedentary lifestyle?
You want to jump on that first?
Yeah. Okay. So inside of the language reveals something.
Yeah.
Which is deal, right? There's a superiority even inside of the question.
Yeah.
That's why I preface it.
Yes. Right. And so, and that's not, I'm not just trying to shame you for asking it that way, but it's oftentimes our language reveals our consciousness and our paradigm. And so this is why you come to get coached and supported by people who maybe have a wider range and understanding or more life experience. And so here's some of that life experience. I was coaching, we were speaking at an all men's event.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the guys stood up and he was like, how do I get my wife to get into this work? You know, it feels like I'm doing all the work here and she's just not into it and X, Y, and Z, and it's really on her. And I said, man, I hear you. I genuinely do. And I think you have a leadership problem. He's like, kind of like taken aback. I said, let me break it down a little bit. So there's one thing to say, I think you should be doing or reading this book. There's another to finesse and lead your wife to invoke and inspire and meet her in such a way that you speak to her listening, where she desires to do it either with you or she finds her own way, but that it actually speaks to her listening. Well, you can't do that if you're judging her. You can't do that if you're in a one-up position. So sedentary, and what was the other word?
Lacks ambition, I think.
Yeah, sedentary and lacks ambition. The way I heard that was I am above. Because I have ambition, because I'm not sedentary, I am therefore better, and you are therefore worse. So number one way to clean some of this up is to take yourself off the pedestal and say, there is a season for everything in life. My partner may be in a season where they don't necessarily have the drive to go make $1 billion and do X, Y, and Z. They are content with watching Love is Blind and Netflix and chilling and just enjoying the now moment. Let me, as their partner, see the gift in this before I invite them to where I am.
Yeah, and I just want to speak to this too, because I've done this. I've done the one-up thing where it's like, oh, you're not like me. How can I change you to be more like me? Right? It's essentially what we're saying. And I think that's where all problems start in a relationship, is when we're like, why aren't you more like me? Things would be easier if you were just more like me. And I think what P is saying is so important, because when we really relax and exhale, the need for somebody else to be like us, again, requires a safe body to go, I don't need them to be like me, because I want them to be like me so I feel safer. Because then I can understand them, then I can control them, then I can feel like I've got some sort of handle on you. But if you're different than me, you're a different animal. I don't know you. I can't fully feel safe in that if I don't feel safe in myself. So that's number one. Number two, our differences are actually what make us so beautiful. And if you can pull back and really go, I love my ambition. I love how I'm like getting it. Like, yes. And what medicine is here for me with my man? Because polarity is real. And a lot of people don't want to look at this, but polarity is real. And so, for instance, if this is I'm assuming this was a woman, correct? Asking, I think.
Based off the name, I can't tell.
Okay. So whether it's a man or a woman, that person who's in that like ambitious role is going to be so strongly over here that it's going to create a polarity of somebody who's a bit more relaxed and in receptivity and enjoying life more. And there's a medicine for both of them in each other. And people like Preston and I, like, we're both ambitious. We're both visionaries. And because we both take that pull, we also have to do more work on the polarity because we're both really strong in that pull. And so no matter who you attract in your life, there's work to do, right? And I think we somehow magically have this idea that if I had the right person, there'd be no work to do and everything would just be great. And it's not true. You know, different people, different types of problems, right? Or things to work through, challenges. And so if you had an ambitious partner, you'd have a whole different set of challenges that you don't even know if you want yet.
Facts.
Right? Like that's real talk. Like that's our dynamic. And that's a whole set of challenges that you got to be ready for. Right?
What challenges?
I mean, polarity is number one, right? You have two people who are both in like go, build, structure, vision, holding it up here, moving, ambitious, wanting more. Okay, now we got to actually work on creating sacred spaces within the relationship, within ourselves, to have receptivity and pleasure and joy, which can be hard for people that are really strong in their vision, right? So that's a huge challenge that most people don't talk about. They want the power couple, but they don't know that there's a whole set of challenges that come with being in a power couple dynamic. And so just like there's a whole set of challenges that come when you're really polarized, but there's also beauty and gifts in both.
And here's what it is. I think that one of the ways that we could pat ourselves on the back is both of us have been working on our range.
Yeah.
And what I mean by range is our capabilities to be whatever is needed in a moment. Right. And so, for instance, when Alexi's not here and one of our kids falls and scrapes their knee and they're bleeding or whatever the case may be, I have the range to go into the nurturer while she's not here. Well, the moment she's here, I could go a whole nother place. Because that exists when we enter the bedroom and we have our sensual time and our sexual time. I can turn things off and turn things on or higher because of the range. And so she also knows how to turn things down, right? Let's say all day she's driving and pushing and going and using her sacred masculine to make money and make business moves. Well, a woman without range brings that straight into the house.
That's right.
And can't put it down.
Can't turn it off.
Yes.
Isn't in the mood because she's like, oh, my brain's just go.
That.
And I mean, I work with ambitious women all day, every day. And that is the number one thing. They're like, I don't know where my attraction went. I don't know where my libido went.
How do you get that range?
It's a practice. So again, this is why embodiment work is so important because you can read about range. You can hear about it on this podcast. You can listen to podcasts on it. You can watch YouTube videos on it. But until you actually experience more of yourself in your body, you don't have evidence that you can get there. And this is why I'll speak to women, because this is what I do in my women's work, is I take women through experiences where they get to actually feel into their range. They get to feel into the archetypes that live on this scale and go, ooh, I didn't even know I had that. I love how that tastes. I can feel that texture. And because I felt it, I can get back there. But we need embodied practice. Otherwise, our brain goes, well, I'm not like that. Right? Because we base our brain on our personality and we go, well, I'm shy, or I've never been like that in the bedroom, or I'm always just driven. I can't turn my brain off. We have all these very fixed stories about ourselves from our personality. But when you have an embodied experience of you as something different, you're like, no, I may be all that, but I'm also that too.
Facts.
Like I have felt it. I have gotten there. And embodiment work is when you are literally trying on new expressions and going, okay, where am I closed? Where am I open? Where is there ability to stretch a little further and open more? And you do need support. Like I needed support when I first got into embodiment work for the feminine range, because you can't see yourself, you don't know what you don't know.
Facts.
And so you don't even know what's possible unless you have somebody guiding you and going, hey, this might be possible for you. You open a try and you're like, oh, sure.
Yes.
And then you try it and you're like, oh my God, that felt so good.
This is why mentorship and coaching is so important.
Yeah.
Because it's very challenging to be what you can't see.
100%.
And we have lived in this sort of Instagram world where boys are signing up for manhood by way of the man starter kit, where it's your muscles, your manscaping, how much money you got, what your car look like, how fine is your woman, and how many women can you get. And so that's the model for what man is, because they haven't seen anything else. But game recognized game. And oftentimes what happens, especially when people come around me, is they go, oh my God, I didn't realize my deficits until I got around you and some of your homies, because you're operating from such beast mode. There's so much spaciousness. There's so much love. There's so much willingness. You can tap into that killer and that lover within a split second, homie, and run a family and a business, right? Most of us never saw that. I didn't see it from my dad. I had to figure this out. I pieced it together, working with different people. One of our mentors, God rest his beautiful soul, Scott Cody, we instantly put $9,000, $10,000, $12,000 down the moment we saw him, because we went, yo, that's the type of man I'd never been around.
Like real talk, I don't even know what he did. I didn't even understand the program I was signing up for,
Facts.
but I had a meeting with him at a restaurant, and I sat down with him and he was so present. He was so grounded. And he wasn't showy. He's an older guy, like very like stoic, just so in his heart, so available, so grounded. And I'm like, I don't have that. I want whatever that is. I don't have that. And I knew it. It was so clear.
Same.
I had a lot of other stuff, but I didn't have that. And so I was like, I don't even care what your program is. I'm a yes. I didn't have the money for it. I was like, I will figure out how to get in your room.
Yes.
I need to be around your energy, because I've never felt someone so in their body.
Facts.
And that was the beginning of our embodiment journey, was being around Scott, who was just so in his body.
When was this?
2013, 2014.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, we OGs. We've been in this space a long time. So the bottom line is mentorship, coaching, embodiment work is the way.
Yeah.
And if you don't have it to look at and model, you can't model it.
Yeah.
And so then we just get left with the Andrew Tates of the world and the sort of idea of man and the idea of woman.
Which is frankly just performative. It's just performative. And it's even less embodied than you just trying to be yourself. Because now you're trying to like perform and put on this mask of like, here's who I think a man is, and here's what I think a woman is, and let me just be what I think it is. But the truth is, you cannot learn how to be embodied through your mind. It has to be a practice that you actually like do the hard work in your body and find all the places where you're disembodied and closed and shut down from your own expression, from your own aliveness, to go, oh, that's possible? Wow. And that's what we learned with Scott, is there was like so much available in our bodies that we didn't even know. We didn't even know. We didn't even know that that was possible until we worked with someone that's like, oh yeah, that's my everyday. It's like, oh, people live like this?
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the quotes that we open our workshop up with is, you can't disown that which you've never owned. And I think there's a lot of people who want to let go of stuff, but they're not willing to say, this is me. Like this is, because we are what we repeatedly do. Yeah. So what are the practices and habits that the ways in which you operate? How are you when nobody else is watching? How do you feel on a day-to-day basis? Right? I know the distinction and the difference between hating myself and being low-level, depressed, and just kind of there. And I also know what it feels like to be so alive and in the pocket that even sadness feels good. right? That is a game changer when you can ride the wave of life and go, oof, thank you, God. Thank you for this beautiful, hand-picked lesson. Thank you for the wind that is blowing in the trees and the cicadas doing their thing and the lizards and the butterflies and the anguish. Thank you for it all. And feel it, right? We often say in our workshop, and we show people, we say, did you do that or did it do you? Because there's a big distinction between me, conscious, sovereign being, saying, I'm making the choice to say, fuck you. Or did I react and do the thing I always do and say, fuck you? Those are completely different energies.
Yeah.
One says, nah, and I see you. The other one says, I'm scared, so I'm going to bring out my teeth. Right? Most people have not been trained to understand that yet. And yet something doesn't feel right about how they're operating. That's where we come.
Living in autopilot.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why when you do embodiment work, it's almost like you can't even put words to what you get because you just come home to more of yourself. And I think especially for women, so much of our wisdom lives in our body for all of us, but especially women. So many women, our bodies have been objectified for thousands of years. But we have entered the game and we've begun objectifying ourselves. And we do it unconsciously, where it's like, oh, my body's not perfect yet. My face isn't perfect yet. My eyelashes aren't this. My lips aren't like Kylie's, or whatever it is, right? I wish I looked more like her, whatever the story is. And we objectify ourselves. We hate ourselves. We think that our bodies are a problem to fix. Our beauty is something that we can get to by some externalized factor. But when we come into our fullness of who we are as a human being, we hit a center point of light that is so pure. It's so powerful. And you really you're like, I'm the most beautiful thing on the planet. I am a unique one of billions. How have I ever questioned my worth? How have I ever questioned my beauty? How have I ever questioned my power? Like, when you really know who you are, everything else, it's almost like a cosmic joke happens. And you start to look at all the problems that you used to have from your personality. And you're like, what? And you play a totally different game. You don't play the game from I need to survive, I need to win, I need to be the prettiest, the richest, the strongest, the fastest. You play the game of I get to be the most me. And like when you play that game, you win every single day. Whether you're the most you because you're grieving because you lost a loved one, or you're the most you because you're playing with your kids and you're in this euphoric, playful, silly moment, or you're the most you because you're making love with your partner and you feel so free and liberated. When you're playing that game, it's just a whole different level of life versus the game of I'm just trying to survive. And in order to survive, I got to win and be the best. And embodiment is the access point to that. Because when you're in your body and you fully inhabit it, you feel, not a concept that you read in a book, but you feel that oneness. You feel that source of light. And you're like, oh, that's my power.
I'm just letting it hit.
Yeah.
I'm switching gears back to relationships. You said the word sovereign. And you've said it again on another podcast. I want to dive deeper into this. How do you honor yourself as a sovereign free being and be in a relationship? And what does that look like?
Yep.
Because it's something so many people struggle with.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're married and we've been together for what? 13 years? Somewhere around there.
I don't even know what year we're in. 2025?
Yes. So we made a commitment.
Yeah.
And a choice to be together no matter what. And in that commitment, that choice, which is a sovereign choice, cuts off other choices. It has its own contract inside of it. And so it doesn't mean that I don't have room to grow, because the truth is that my sovereignty has grown over those 13 years. When we met, there was a spark and a purity that brought us together. I like to say that I am perfect, whole, and complete, but not finished. And the not finished part is me removing the gap between what I say and who I be. And when we met, it was probably here. And over time, because of the sacred mirror and that commitment, it's started to get closer and closer. And so, to me, you're asking, it's a deep question, because it also, for me, implies my faith and understanding of the power that rotates the planet and that grows the grass and my hair. I believe in a God, and that God, I believe, cannot separate itself. And so I am a fragmentation. I'm a splinter. I'm a branch off of the one tree that is all of humanity and all of life. And so I'm a splinter or a branch with a personality. But when the going gets tough and when the going gets beautiful, we often remember that there's only one of us here. When there's tragedy, right? You see a car accident, you see somebody break something. We all have our mirror neurons fire off in our brains, and we feel the pain they're feeling, because there's something beyond what science can explain. And that is the invisible web of all of us choosing to dance together. You know and have seen, we live on acreage. We have 4 acres. And right now there are live oak trees down at the bottom by the creek, and there's live oak trees up here. All of them chose to dance together at some level. Some chose to dance closer to each other. There's a mutual respect. We're all planted in the same earth, but we've somehow found our way next to each other in this lifetime to do the dance in this way. And so, long philosophical, poetic way to say, once you sort of make the link, sort of like an avatar, where they'd connect their tails to that beast, the horse thing, and then they'd fly off. Once you make the link, it can't be unlinked, even if it's cut. And so all choices also involve her, even if she died or left me, because there's the invisible cord is still there.
Yeah.
So sometimes the choices that are made on the personality level, this is the part I want everybody to hear, on the personality level, look like ugly, terrible choices that all of us can point to and say, you're the bad one. But when we look higher, when we pull far enough back and we see with the eye behind the eye what's actually going on, this ugly choice produced something beautiful. And so, because we're all connected. That's what I say.
Yeah, I'm going to drop in with a slightly different perspective on it, because I also think about what does sovereignty mean as just a human in life? Because humans in life, we do relationship, we do work, we do parenting, we do all these different things. We do friendship, we do daughter, son, brother, sister, we do all these roles. And for me, sovereignty really means that I am in my conscious, calm, executive functioning brain. I am not in my wounded teenager or wounded child, not in my trauma body, where I'm in my hypervigilance and making choices from survival, making choices from protection, making choices from a collapsed version of myself, but rather like I'm in my fullness. I'm in my full capabilities. I'm in my full choice. I'm in my full safety. And from this place, what do I choose? From this place, how do I act? From this place, how do I love? From this place, how do I move forward? And I think we dance quite often. I think the more we practice being in our sovereignty, the quicker we can get there. But I think in life, part of being human is part of the dance between like, wait, am I merged with a younger part right now? Am I merged in my hypervigilance? Am I moving from fear and my lens of the world is not safe? Because therefore I'm not sovereign. Therefore I'm now playing a game that's not actually true, but it's a game based on perception. And I think sovereignty means that we have moved past the perception of I am not safe, and we're able to make clear choices in a safe body, in a safe world, in a safe relationship. If I am safe, what would I choose? If you were safe, how would we move? And as we dance, 13 years in, and we get to 15 and 20, that sovereignty is going to look different every single moment because there's new things to consider in every moment. Just like in business, right? You can make a sovereign choice to become an entrepreneur. You could have that hit of inspiration and you're in your highest faculties, you're in your fullness. You're like, I got to start this business. And then you start the business. And what often happens as an entrepreneur is like reality sets in. Like, oh shit, this is hard. I'm not making any money. I'm investing all this money. Like, when is it coming back? And we start to get hit with the reality, and that reality like almost forces the lens of fear. Like, now you're in fear. And it's like, okay, if I choose from fear, I'm just going to create more fear in my business. Same thing with a relationship. The minute something happens and you're out of that like euphoric honeymoon stage and the first fight happens or argument happens, you're like, maybe they're not my person, right? And you start going through all the things. And then the lens of fear, we put them on. And the question is, have you taken them off? Have you taken the lens of fear off and gotten back into your power, back into your sovereignty, back into your body and go, no, what else can I see here? What else is true here? What else? What's the vision? And I think sovereignty holds vision and higher self really powerfully and goes, higher self is playing a game here. And the vision I have is to live life as my highest self. And to me, that frame, those lenses help get me through harder times, whether it's in business, parenting, or in my marriage, of like, there's something bigger here. Can I hold that vision and stay out of my fear goggles? Because my fear goggles, I don't make good choices when I have those on.
That makes sense. Now, when I actually wrote this down as I was driving here, my mom wanted to ask this question, but it ties in very well to what we were just talking about. So she loves Deepak Chopra. And one of the things she says, we aren't the same person that we were a year ago.
Yeah.
What's y'all's secret to growing in the same direction year after year? Because in relationship, a lot of times you kind of drift apart. You introduce kids, sometimes you drift apart. Maybe even after kids are out the house, you drift apart.
I think the secret to all of life is curiosity. I think that if you can stay curious about your partner, wherever they're drifting, wherever they're going, then that connected thread will always stay connected.
Yeah.
The moment we get into, hey, I married you with this construct and you need to stay in this construct, or hey, I married you and at that time I was the one leading the charge and it feels like you're leading the charge and I don't like that. That's different than, oh, wow, what is the knower? What is God? What is Jesus? What is Buddha? What is Krishna trying to reveal as the next evolution of my personal life by way of my partner? And then get curious and interested in that. Because a good example of this for those of you with kids is no matter what your kid's into, You may not be into Pokemon or Mario Brothers or whatever the case may be, but there's a connected tissue and love. Even if you fake the curiosity, there's still a little bit of curiosity there of like, wow, my kid really loves dinosaurs right now. I could give one crap about dinosaurs, but they care about them. Therefore, I care about dinosaurs, at least a little bit. And as the phases and the cycles of life continue, what you can be certain of is that what today's price is not, or tomorrow's price is not today's price, or whatever the thing is. It's gonna change. It always changes. And so we only get ourselves in trouble when we try to lock people in to these constructs of what they need to be for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. Even as you asked that, I had this visual, and it's like growing in different directions. And I think that's kind of how most of us hold growth, is like it's an upward trajectory. But my body went, no, it's this. It's like expansion. And I think not all upward growth is expansion. I think sometimes upward growth, like when we look at the metrics and the facts of like, oh, I'm making more money, but sometimes we're more tight and we're more closed, even though we're up here, right? Or like, oh, I'm reading all the books, but we're still tight and closed. And we think we're doing the work, and we are to some extent, but we're still tight, or we're still resistant to love. And I think what's helped us is we both continue to expand. We expand our heart, we expand our capacity, we expand our view. We play in the gray more than the black and white. And like that expansion to me feels all inclusive. It's like a big hug, where it's like the wider I go, the more space I have to fit you in it.
And what's inherent inside of that is allowing ourselves to be influenced by the other. So for example, she went into the sort of sex positive space and started like working with her own sensuality, sexuality, and all that stuff. I wasn't necessarily there, right? But because she was, and she started introducing it, I went, okay, game on. I will too. And I allow her to lead the way and influence me. And I think that there's something that happens in couples where we get so attached to how it was. Or we have this time where it was so good, and then we spend the next 10, 20 years trying to get back to that time. And in doing so, we miss the goodness that is inside of this current seed that whoever's leading the way is bringing.
I love that. I love that, the curiosity part. That definitely struck a chord. This is a question from the audience. More info on when Preston said you are responsible for your partner's happiness. I know you actually made me change my mind in that moment. Because I literally had that thought process until you put it that way. I'm like, you know what? And I could be stubborn. And instantly I'm like, wow, that makes so much more sense. Do you have any more... you dive deeper into that? Oh yeah. We didn't get your perspective.
I'm assuming it's the thought of you are responsible for your partner's happiness because we're constantly co-regulating each other. Is that the piece that they're asking on?
Yeah, we listened to, there's a Will Smith quote or Will Smith video where he says that to Jada, you're responsible for your happiness. I'm responsible for my happiness. I cannot make you happy. And then he said he disagreed.
Yeah. So from a biological standpoint, even us in this room right now, we're co-regulating each other. So if I'm tight in my body, if I'm nervous, if I'm thinking about something that's going wrong in my life, whether I say it or not, your body is smart and it's going to pick up on that. And we can't help that. We actually cannot control that. We can't help it. We can't change it. It is a biological imperative that is set in motion for our safety. So knowing that, of course, I'm responsible for my own energetic output based on how my body feels. That's going to impact him. So if I walk in the house and I'm crunchy and like, frustrated, it's going to impact him. It's going to impact my kids. It's even going to impact my dogs because my dogs can feel it too, right? And so we can't get out of that biological connection. And in that sense, we are essentially responsible for the energy we bring into a space because it does have an impact. Cause and effect is real. Now, that being said, he still has choice within that. I still have choice within. If he comes in frustrated, I still have choice. I can feel, boom, the impact of his energy. My body can instantly tighten up and close and feel what it feels when I feel him on edge. But then if I bring breath to my body, I bring safety back in. I bring availability for my conscious brain to turn on. Now I have choice. And I go, okay, do I want to let that be a reaction? Right? Because if I don't breathe, now I'm in his world. Now I'm just reacting to his world. And now we're off to the races. But if I bring in breath, I can go, hey, baby, what's wrong? You feel a little on edge. And then we can I can start to co-regulate him because I can feel his dysregulation. So it doesn't take out responsibility and choice. And we cannot help that we are biologically impacted by beings that we're close to. That even means at Starbucks in line.
Yes.
The person behind you that you may not even have a conversation with, their energy is impacting you. It's so funny. We were having, I had a coaching call yesterday and somebody was on asking about why they're doing all the funnels and they're doing the strategy and and their business isn't working. I'm like, you can have all the strategies in the world, but if your energy isn't, they can feel it. They can feel it. And so I think we put way too much merit on our brains, and our brains are awesome, but our bodies are doing far more communication than we give it credit for. And the minute we start getting in tune with our bodies and actually knowing how to yield and work that energy, we become so powerful. And so, yeah.
Somatic work is the key.
That's it.
This is a question for you, Preston. So you said earlier, you were talking about a situation where someone you know was blaming things on their partner. You said it's a leadership problem. How can, and you also talked about the Andrew Tates of the world and all, and you know that's the default that a lot of people are going to. What does an embodied male leader look like for you? Like what do you think is a better route than the Tates?
Yeah, well, let me just go back to the leadership piece.
Yeah.
Right? Like in that example, that man was basically pointing to his wife from a one-up position and saying, you aren't. And even when he wasn't saying it, his energy was saying it. He was feeling like he was better because he was reading personal development books and listening to podcasts and going to workshops. And what I invited him to see is those things weren't working enough if he couldn't reconfigure himself in such a way that could reach her listening and her heart. An example of that would be, we try to put these kids to bed and we have all of them, have their different ways in which they do not want to go to bed. And leadership says, right, there's options. One option, the unconscious option, the Andrew Tate option is take your ass to bed or I'm going to make you. Right? Okay. That has an effect though. And does it have the effect, the long-term effect that I'd like? Another option, the leadership option is, okay, so we're in the living room right now. I'm going to count from 3, 2, 1. And when I get to 1, I'm going to crawl and you're going to run and we're going to see who gets to your bed first. Both get the job done. One does it in such a way that is creative and has the least amount of harm.
And it's also enrolling.
And it's enrolling.
Yeah.
And so I think we've lost the art of enrollment. We've lost the art of finesse. We've lost the art of flirting and using our faculties and touching our partners and people's hearts in such a way where they can hear it and feel it. Because we become so robotic and so distant from our hearts. If I don't know how to get to my own heart, how the hell am I going to get to yours?
Yeah, and I think even in that question that he asked, there's this thing that the woman, and we didn't get to talk to her because she wasn't there, but she's for sure feeling like I'm not enough. He's unhappy with me, or she's feeling some sort of shame around not meeting his desires. And when we create that level of dissonance, even if she chooses to, like, let's say, go to a workshop or read a book or whatever it might be, she's choosing from the energy of, I've got to do this in order to keep my man happy. Survival. It's not sovereign choice. It's fear goggles. Okay, I need to choose something or else he's going to leave me. And so, again, an enrolling vision of that for any of you who has a partner out there that you wish they would be more like you wish they would be, more into personal development or more ambitious or whatever that is, really asking yourself, like, what do they want from me? Right? So, like, if I wish that Preston was more ambitious, and that's my complaint, I have to ask myself, what is my partner like? What's his love medicine? Like, he loves words of affirmation and touch. He loves feeling connected in that way. Okay, how can I ask this in a way that actually gets my desire met? Because it's not that I want him to be more ambitious, let's say, but rather I want to feel like I'm on a team, right? Because what's under the ambition? What's under I want them to be in personal development, right? It's that we want to feel like we're together, we're in partnership on something. So then I would bring it to him artfully in a way that meets what he actually wants to, like, fill his cup. Hey, baby, like, I see you doing big things. I see you out there. I see you dreaming. I see you working hard. I love what you're doing. What I would love as well is if we could play together in this one arena that I'm starting to play in. And it's really fun. It's super, like, interesting. It's this one woman that I'm taking this workshop for, and she's building all these funnels and sales system. It's a little confusing, but I feel like I need my partner there with me. I love how you think. I love how you move through the world. I need your brain. Can you come with me to this thing? You see how that's different than, like, oh, I wish you would come to this thing with me.
I love that. We're essentially big kids.
That's it. We just need to, like,
essentially did the same thing.
Facts. Exactly. That is the exact same thing.
That's what we do to our kids.
Racing our kid into the thing. Yes.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's flirty and it's loving and it's creative. So just more
artful,
effort.
Yeah. And we have lost the art of actually relating. And, like, with Chat GPT now, it's people are running their relationship through Chat GPT. And, like, you talk about atrophy, we're already not great at relating. We're going to get worse because now we're relying on artificial intelligence that is essentially an echo chamber for what we believe, telling us how to be in relationship with a human being. It's really scary.
That is scary. How do we fight against that? Or how do we keep our humanness when it seems like that's where we're going?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is, and a lot of women in my space are like, oh, ChatGPT is my new therapist, or ChatGPT is giving me dating advice. And it's like, do not rely on ChatGPT.
I've never thought of asking ChatGPT
to write your messages back to people, to teach you what to say on a first date. Like, don't rely on AI, because part of relationship that makes us better in relationship is actually failing. It's that thing that we were talking about with our kids. You've got to be willing to try something on and be like, whoa, that didn't work. What do I need to do different? The challenge that comes from being a beginner, from trying something new, from learning, like, we become better at things through the process of learning, not just being told, oh, here's how to fish. We don't actually know how to fish. We need to actually go out, put some bait on a rod, throw it out, learn how to cast the line, learn how to wait, we have to learn to know. And so the less we rely on these artificial means of relating, and the more we start to, like, trust ourselves, because that's, to me, what it is like, we don't trust ourselves as humans. Even AI as a business owner, right? And I mean, the temptation is real to just give ChatGPT all my stuff and be like, tell me what to do. But I trust myself enough to know what I want to talk about. I trust myself enough to know what's going to resonate with my audience. I can work with that in ChatGPT and have it organize it for me. But, like, I trust and know myself enough that I'm going to always lean on that first. And I think that's the game, is as this gets bigger and faster and more convenient, because it will, is we are going to learn to trust ourselves less, unfortunately, if we divert our power over.
Yeah. But then it'll actually, so I'm an eternal optimist. And I think it just follows the same cycle of rupture and repair. And so we'll go through the rupture of worse, and then we'll repair with better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And then we'll end up in rupture, and then we'll repair with better than it's ever been. And I think that AI and this whole boom is going to make people more spiritual.
Yeah, for sure.
And more apt to get in the same place and space with other people. I think it's going to be very similar to COVID, where there's going to be so much technology that all you want to do is dance and fight and play and jump and kiss and fuck.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I did a video on this too. It's like I had this huge epiphany moment as I was researching all these AI tools for business, and I'm building an AI agent as well. So I'm like in that world. And I thought to myself, like, man, information used to be king and queen, right? Like what you knew, where you went to school, like what degrees do you have? What skills do you have? Like, tell me how much information you have, and I'll tell you how valuable you are as a human being, as an asset in the workforce, right? So we're coming from this age of information where that is no longer the thing that matters, because AI is inherently smarter than all of us, right? And it's only getting smarter by the minute.
Right.
Its processing speeds are 10,000 times beyond what ours are. So if we can't fall back on the mind, on what we know, then what's left? And it's our bodies. How embodied are you? How in your heart are you? How tuned in are you? How present are you? That's what's going to matter. And like, how dope is that? That it's almost going to force the hand of the general population that may have never come to embodiment work, so that may have never cared about, they've relied on their intellect or they've relied on their skills. Now, the skill that's going to be most valued is how in your body are you? How human are you? How in touch with your humanity are you? And can you be a safe space for me and for others, because you're a safe space in yourself? And so now we're going to actually have to learn how to be human better rather than just try and be a machine. Because I feel like we've been, since the industrialized age, we have been trying to be machines at the sake of and at the cost of our humanity. So we've put emotions to the side. We've put spaciousness to the side. We've put time and nature to the side, because production, make stuff, make money, make more, go bigger, go harder. Try to compete with machines. We can no longer compete.
So how do you think that translates into feeding your families, though? I know that translates very well into connecting and us having a reason to connect even more and placing more value. But when it comes to feeding your families, how does that?
I think people will just get creative. Yeah, they'll get creative, and it might crash. It might get really hard. And, I think it's going to suck for some time.
I do too.
Until it's awesome. And I think that it will probably make the gap between the rich and the poor even bigger.
Yeah.
What I do love about technology is that, for instance, cryptocurrencies are also in play. And people who wouldn't be able to get rich normally now have the opportunity to buy, let's say, an XRP or some type of coin that's $1 or 15 cents, and possibly in 3 years have that turn into $600,000 that they didn't know was coming because they invested. So I think there's a give and take and a beauty to all of it. And I just trust in the thing that's bigger than all of the technology, and that's the technology of God. I think that it knows, and ultimately, and I understand that I'm saying this from a very privileged place, I don't believe in mistakes. I think that there is a perfection to this whole thing. And I also think that, and have a really strong feeling that there's no end to life, that life just lifes with the body and without the body. And when it's without the body, you continue your journey on whatever path you want to take. And while you're here, we dance in these skin suits and allow for the magic to unfold, because what else is there to do? Ultimately, life is stupid as fuck when you actually sit with it You're like, why do we do any of this stuff? And it's to fill the time, to matter,
to relate,
to feel the like. Again, when I spoke to how when you're really alive, the sadness can feel good.
Yeah.
When you're really alive, the wave of anger can almost turn you on. You're like, like I feel lit up by the fangs and the energy that's currently running through my body. That's, to me, one of the graduations. One of our mentors talks about the stages of consciousness: to me consciousness, victim consciousness. We move from to me to by me, where we say, I can make this happen. And that's creator consciousness. We move from by me to through me consciousness, where we say, thy will be done, right? I was just making it happen. Now I'm going to make it welcome. Use me, God. And then we move from through me consciousness to as me consciousness, which is the Christ consciousness or the Buddha nature, where we say, oh, there is only God. There's nothing to do, nothing to say, nowhere to go. God is, and I can't miss. And there's a pocket that you find in that quantum space that people get when they get high and they go into the MDMA spaces and the mushrooms and the ayahuascas and the Holy Ghost in church, and they find that pocket, and then they try to keep visiting, right? And they go, oh, it must be the ayahuasca. So let me visit the ayahuasca again to get there. Oh, it must be church. That's where God is. I'm gonna go into tongues and get myself in a state. Well, the magic of life, when you really figure it out, is there's nothing out there that's doing it. Those are external things that are helping me remember and activate something that was always inside of me. And so the divine remembrance of like who and what we really are, and I know she spoke to this earlier, there's something so juicy about loving what is like it's the greatest gift on the planet. Like, I tell my students all the time when they're struggling with self-love, I say, every time you see something beautiful, you see a rainbow, you go, oh, I am that too. You see a puppy and you go, oh, so cute. You turn it right back around. I am that too. You watch something dope or artistic and you go, oof, that was amazing. Instantly claim it for yourself. Because the same God that made that rainbow and that puppy and that art is the same one that's operating through each and every one of us.
Yeah. Yeah, so good. I do think we're going to go through a huge renaissance, a huge evolution of humanity. We have to. We have to, it is literally the same difference of, moving from pre-industrial age to post-industrial. We are now going to be, industrial age to now technological age, and evolution and revolution. And it's going to challenge us as a species to evolve in ways that I don't even think we fully comprehend or understand yet.
Can I just tap on this? You know what I think is going to happen, and it's happening right now as we speak? The resurgence of the birthplace of humanity is occurring. So we know in science now that everybody comes from East Africa. And what's happening right now is Africa as a continent is starting to wake up to, we've always had the magic.
Yeah.
We've always had the juice. They came here and stole everything they possibly could and tricked everybody and did whatever they possibly could to colonize these heathens. And what's happening is they took all that stuff and created all this beautiful technology that's distracted us from the truth of our being. And so the return to the simplicity.
Yeah.
Both of us have sat on the Serengeti and watched life do life different. We've been in villages deep in the bush in Tanzania and watched how they got the thing. They may be the poorest people in money, but they're the richest people in spirit and contentment and personal connection. And so I literally think that all of this technology is just going to force us back to what Africa as a continent always had.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. I think there's going to be a huge push to like going back to nature, working with our hands, like working with the land, growing our own food. I think we're actually hungry for it. Like there's all this neuroscience research out that basically says that like when we build things with our hands, we create these circuits of pleasure and dopamine hits in our body that like satiates the human, satiates the part of ourself that needs the struggle and the challenge. And
Yes.
I was telling him this the other day, that same thing I was listening to is talking about how we're in a crisis of comfort, where we're so comfortable as human beings, where we've got heat, we've got air conditioning, we've got electricity, we've got running water, we've got a car that can drive us from here to there. We can get on airplanes. Like everything's easy for the most part. If you're privileged enough to live in a place like America where we live, everything's pretty easy. And because we don't have the challenge that is inherently built into what the human spirit needs to feel fulfilled, we have this like huge deficit in fulfillment. We have this huge deficit in feeling purposeful and truly useful. Like, yes, we're plugging away at our jobs, but we're not necessarily feeling like we've built anything. And so I think coming back to like the basics of like building things with our hands, getting our hands in the soil, like cultivating our own food. As you said, like we spend a lot of time in East Africa and we stay with people that are very close to how, all of our ancestors live. Like they're walking for their water, they're growing their own food, they're killing their own chickens. Like it's very close to the land. And in a way, that simplicity and that challenge creates a satiation of like, I did that. And I think because of our comforts, we are lacking that inherent need to feel like we have built something. We have created something. We're creative beings. We need to feel that sense of creation. I think that's why like entrepreneurs have such a hunger for building and creating, because it gives us that little, okay, I did that. But I think humanity at large is yearning for that. We're actually starving for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that just back to AI, I think that, I know you said that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to get super rich. I think the most ethical way to do this is if we're going to have AI and robots taking everyone's jobs and working for us. I don't know why there shouldn't be like a group fund.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Because it's essentially going to be like a monopoly of, probably 5 to 10 companies.
But they're using everyone's data to build that. Right. So I think it would actually be our right to share the profits as Americans, as people in China, whoever is making the AI. I do think like, again, I think this is opening a huge bag because it's such a nuanced conversation because it's also growing at rates that we weren't expecting. Right, which is kind of scary. And protecting itself. And
if it can code and change its own code, then all things are possible. Right. That being said, we're going to have to evolve what has been normal for making money. Because the truth is AI is coming probably for 95% of all jobs. Yeah. I mean, that's the truth. Yeah. That's the truth. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, who knows the timeline, but it's going to happen. And it doesn't seem like this train is stopping anytime soon. It's getting faster. Yeah. And so I think instead of living in fear, which is easy to trip into, because it does feel so insurmountable and so uncontrollable. Again, fear goggles. Oh shit, what do I need to do? I think we really have to like stay regulated as much as possible and stay in possibility of like, okay, what does this mean for me? How do I want to relate to this new world? Because it's going to be a brand new world. Yep. How do I want to take care of myself, my family, and start thinking differently as a collective? And again, going back, we've been so individualized. We've been trying to be like robots. We are going to have to go back to collective thinking in order to make this work.
Community is going to be the new money. It's going to be the currency. Yeah. You asked me the question, what is like in the pocket, like conscious man do and how does he operate? It's some of what she's speaking to. He figures out how to grow his own food. Yeah. He figures out and actually does what Jesus talked about and loves his neighbor as himself and actually knows his neighbor. Yeah. Because if the neighbor's has the chickens and I got the water and this neighbor's got the strawberries and this one's got the goats, then okay, take the jobs, right? We're good. We got our food, we got our water, we got our community. We're good.
Yeah.
I think that there is I think that there are some silly little men who want to get rid of all the Mexicans and blacks everywhere they possibly can and make America what they thought was the good years or whatever the case may be. And I think that is going to bite them in the butt. I think that it's actually counterproductive and intuitive. And I think it will get hard for especially Black people the closer they get to their agenda, because most Black people do not have the type of setups where somebody could grow the chickens, somebody can grow have the strawberries and the XYZ, because they're in these urban jungles, right? And so, for instance, real talk, like man to man, if all the power went out right now, how long would you last? If all the power went out.
How long?
Yes.
I'd figure it out.
You would. How ready would you be?
Oh, I wouldn't be ready. Yeah. I'd figure it out.
You would, right? But the figuring out part is where it gets scary.
Yeah.
Because what they would do, if they did shut out the power in, let's call it New York City, or the middle of LA, South Central LA, what would happen is most people wouldn't be ready.
Yeah.
And so they would take their guns and their knives and they'd start walking towards each other first. They'd kill each other.
Yeah. Because now it's about survival.
Yeah. And then they'd start going into Beverly Hills and all the rich places where the white people are, and they'd start trying to kill them. But then those people would be ready and they'd have their machine guns, and it'd be an entire problem. And so a part of what I do, we do, but I take on as my responsibility is, what does it mean to lead your family? What does it mean to take care of your family? What does it mean to provide for your family? Oh, okay. What happens if the power goes out, homie? You got generators? If you don't, get them. What happens if somebody come knock on your door and they say, I want your everything? You got guns? If you don't, get them. What happens if there's a famine and there's no food for 3 months? You got backup supplies? You got enough food for 3 months to feed all those kids and this family? If you don't, get them. And so each one of these things I've been checking off behind the scenes, ready. And everybody listening, I urge you, especially men in relationships, especially men who want to take care of your mom and dad and everybody else, you be ready, right? We talk about it in rap, right? You stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. What is actually ready?
Right. And what is real power?
That.
When our comforts are stripped from us.
Facts. Right? They take away the internet, they take away the power, they take away the food and water. You go to turn your water, ain't no more water. What you do?
Like I was in New York City when the power grid went out. I mean, this is probably 15 years ago or longer. And it was wild because nobody knew what to do. Like the subways didn't work. Nothing worked.
How long did it go out?
It was out probably for the day. It was during the day, but imagine that was at night. People were just leaving their apartments, walking in the middle of the streets because none of the stoplights were working. And it's just like, it was mayhem.
Wow.
And it was during the day. And it was a perfect example of like how fragile it really all is.
Your muscles don't mean shit when you're not ready.
That's right.
That's the piece that I want all the dudes to hear. Right? Like, you manscaping and fucking, what does that mean? Are you like, can you fight? Right? You got guns? You got food? You got water?
Yeah.
Otherwise, fuck your manscaping.
Well, and I think it comes down to this idea of freedom too, because so many of us are chasing freedom in like our business and money and all the things. Like what happens when our monetary system, which we're already watching, our dollars basically going to nothing. Like it's becoming even more worthless than it already was. And so we have to start really, again, critical thinking, number one skill of humans that we need to develop. So we have to start thinking, what does this actually mean for me? What do I actually want? How do I want to relate to this? How do I want to play this game? How do I want to feel sovereign and have choice if/when this world changes? Because it is changing.
Right. And
it's changing fast. And I think for us to put our head in the sand makes sense. No shame if you're doing it. I get it. It's a lot and it's scary to think about. Even the people who are at the forefront of AI don't even want to think about what's happening in 3 years because they're like, it's scary to think about. I don't want to think about the world my kids are inheriting. And they're developing it. So I think we have to really ask ourselves, are we ready? What does true power mean? What does real freedom mean? And I think the answer is going to be a lot simpler than we think. And it is coming back to the basics: community, self-sustaining living, and really knowing that you can take care of yourself and your family if shit hit the fan.
Let me go grab a couple guns.
For real. Look up bug out bags, by the way. Anybody listening to this?
Solar generators.
Bug
But
out
even
bags?
Bug out bags.
It's like a ready to go bag.
Including a life straw where you could drink from a river or anything like that. It's got everything in it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Look up bug out bags. Get yourself one.
But real talk, like we're going to get chickens. We're getting all the things.
Oh, yeah?
Because if we got eggs, I'm going to start learning how to do sourdough. We're going to be good.
Facts.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Are y'all like really scared of the world changing, or are you just being prepared?
Not scared. I think we're realists in that way.
Okay.
Yeah. I think like you can even
Just
see
with
it.
all like the political stuff, the conflict in Iran, all that.
Yes. Here's the thing. If you're paying attention, you can't miss it.
Yeah.
If you're distracted by social media and fame and likes and money, you'll miss it and you won't be ready. But if you're paying attention, you'll see it. And it's not see it with fear and like fear mongering. It's okay. Again, sovereignty, not fear goggles, but like sovereign choice with breath. Okay. If something happens, am I ready? If things go down, because there's conflict right now in the Middle East, big time. There has been, right?
Right.
But we're getting more and more involved. Okay, what does that mean for America? Well, we have to look at our leadership. Okay, what does that mean for America? Okay, deeper questions there, right? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for my state? Who's representing my state? We have to get involved politically to the extent from which it impacts us, and it impacts us greatly. And I think a lot of us have been really burned by the political system. I know I have, where I'm just like, oh, none of this matters. It's all a pony show, right? It's a circus. At this point, like, does my vote actually matter? Does my voice actually matter? And it does. And I think we have to really recognize that the responsibility lies within us to make sure our community, the collective that we're living in, is good.
Yeah.
What do y'all think about talking about politics on social media? I know that there's people who have big followings that refuse to do it.
Yeah.
That's because they're thinking with their money more than they are with their heart and compassion. And I'm not mad at them. Everybody's got to do what they got to do.
Yeah.
But for me, I've had many people unfollow me because I say something, right? I just speak where I speak. I say what I say. I feel what I feel. Because I've had the privilege of being a part of the throwaway people, I have a perspective that some privileged people don't have. Because I was in the bottom percentile, even in the ghetto, even in the worst places, I was considered one of the not smart kids. I know what it feels like to be skipped over, right? And because I have the conscious awareness, like Alexi was saying, to pay attention. Who's buying the farms?
Right. Because they are buying them right now.
What happened in COVID?
Land grabs are happening.
In COVID, when you couldn't buy seeds.
Right.
What was the point of that? Right? Like, am I really going to trust this government when they gave them syphilis on blankets? Am I going to trust this government when they poisoned the people of Flint? Am I going to trust this government when they murdered and assassinated everybody who could possibly lead Black people? Come on. And I'm supposed to think that stopped?
Right.
And that they care about us? Absolutely not. So yeah, I could be quiet. I'm quiet when I'm quiet and I'm loud when I'm loud. But what you won't get is somebody who will contort myself just for the sake of money.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to one of the amazing privileges we have for living in this country is the freedom of speech. And what precedes that is the freedom of critical thought. Right? Or freedom of thought. And I think we now live in this world where everyone wants to cancel somebody out for their thought, for their speech, and not recognize that it is a right and a privilege to have that in this country. And the more we jump on someone's feed and comment something and try and take them down because their views don't match our own, the more we're feeding into an idea that we don't actually want freedom.
Facts.
We want people to be more like us. And when we think about that, that's a dictatorship. right? Like I want people to think how I think. This is the right way. And if you don't fit into that, it's going to be a problem. And we see that on social media right now in the comment section. And so I think we all, again, we have to start looking at and taking responsibility for how we are contributing to the exact thing we say we don't want. Like, I don't want someone to control my life. Okay, how are you trying to control somebody else's narrative in their comment section or in the conversation you're having behind their back, right? And so again, like true sovereignty is going, I see the game and I see how I'm a pawn in the game if I don't play it consciously. But if I actually put my thinking hat on and I see the game that they're trying to get me to play so that I can be distracted and controlled by this dumb shit over here and miss all of this that's actually happening, nah, you're not going to get me on that game.
Right.
I'm going to stay out of this so I can be aware of and present to and available for this, because this is the real thing here. And I think as we all start to see a little clearer at what's actually happening, I do think the collective is going to start waking up and things are going to start changing.
Correct.
Because they have to.
Which I love, right? I love that all the Cubans and Mexican people were like, "Oh, Trump, Trump, Trump," and they got their spank. Now you see what happens when you believe blindly. Now you see, right? And you can hear this loud and clear. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm none of those things. I'm joining nobody's gang. But what I'm not is going to be stupid. Right? The writing is usually right on the wall and it's hidden in plain sight, just right there. All you got to do is pay attention.
Right.
And I think, and I want to shout you out for your willingness to speak up, right? For your willingness to take arrows. Because even recently I saw them, and that's why I put comments on your page for that exact thing, because everybody wants to tell you, right? This is it's a pet peeve, and I find it interesting. And it's the same thing in relationship, right? Somebody smacks somebody, and then the person watching it goes, "Hey, you just smacked him," and they go, "Well, Obama did that." It's like, bro, we talking about the person who just smacked him, right? How are you going to go back to 1967 as your argument, right? Like, he just smacked him.
Yeah.
Can you not acknowledge, right? In nonviolent communication, we say connect before you correct.
Yeah.
And most people just go right to correction.
They're not even listening.
Right? They have their cognitive biases where they cannot accept that their Jesus figure in the orange man or whoever the new person is that they put on this pedestal is fallible. So instead, we point at the black dude or we point at it's Hillary's fault. No, bro. What's happening right now? And yes, that might be true too. Yeah. It might be true that Obama did that too. But how? How matters.
Yeah. And I also got to say, like oftentimes we look at these parties in front, we're like, it's their problem. It's their fault. Like they're the ones. And yes, they are a large contributor to it, but there is a larger agenda at play. Even if we don't think about the political agenda and whatever you want to attach to that. But if we look at the agenda of a society that finally has somebody to validate the hate in their heart that they have been feeling, that's the problem. And we're blaming it on the dude in the front who just gave everyone permission, who was already feeling secular, who was already feeling like our people are better, who was already feeling like I don't want to share, whatever it might be. It's just amplifying it's a symptom of a greater problem.
Yeah, he's just bringing it out of them.
That's it. And our roots have disease on them.
Correct.
Yeah.
As a country.
You said our roots what?
Our roots have disease on them as a country. Our roots as a country are diseased. And we refuse to look at the roots. We keep spraying the top going, grow. And then we're like, oh, well, that person isn't giving enough sunlight to it. It's like the roots are diseased. We got to get to the source of what has been occurring in this country since its inception as we know it as Americans.
They want to change the history books. They want to change everything to gloss over the roots.
Well, to make it fit their narrative. And I think the problem is, again, going back to where we're going to be forced to go back into community think, like wide thinking, macro, be inclusive. We don't think that way right now. And so we have a world that looks how it looks right now, where it's me against you, my beliefs against yours, my right against your wrong. And we're not thinking collectively. We're not thinking about the impact that any of this is going to have on humanity at large.
Right.
Because frankly, we don't care if it doesn't impact me.
That's key. It's terrible if it doesn't impact me. And the reason I appreciate you acknowledging me putting out that video or 2 videos. I was just thinking about it for days and days and days. I'm just like, I gotta say something. I gotta say something. And I thought about, hey, what does this mean for brand deals? Because I'm not rich,
Right.
and I get a decent amount of money from brand deals. I'm like, I don't care. I don't want to work with the brand who cares about this, who doesn't get this. Doesn't get this. I don't want to work with that brand.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, I gotta say something.
Yeah.
I got a lot of shut up and dribbles. Like a lot of people saying that. Why don't you stick to the relationship stuff and the spiritual stuff? This isn't your lane.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm a concerned citizen.
Right. It's your lane because you're a human.
It's all of our lanes.
I'm pretty sure it's my lane.
But again, this points to a root that is so diseased. Entertain me. I come here for entertainment, not for reality.
Right.
Facts.
Oh, look at that. Look at a human species, a race that is so addicted to just distract me, please. My life is too hard. This is too hard. I don't want to pay attention. Just make it feel better. That is what's wrong with humanity right now.
Yeah. And listen, there's one I'm thinking about specifically, but I'm sure I have other friends. But I have a friend that's a big Trump supporter. And I believe in his right to believe what he believes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So
for sure,
there's not a piece of me who's going to go on his page and be like, stop talking about that. Stay in your lane. Listen, he came up from a different background, went through different things in life. And for some reason, he believes this is the right way.
Yes.
Right. And he's entitled to that belief.
I absolutely don't agree.
Right.
But exactly, he's
And
entitled,
you're entitled to that
he's
belief.
He's entitled
We
to
live
it.
in a free country.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, when it's the way it's going, it seems like it's encroaching on our ability to actually allow us to believe what we want to believe or
people are already self-censoring. They're already self-censoring. Government has done its job. We are self-censoring because we're afraid of collective cancelization.
Yeah. And he just had that celebration thing, and there was the No Kings protests. And there was more people all across the United States of America saying absolutely not than people saying, oh, hail the king, Mr. Trump, or whatever this dude's name is. So I think that what's happening is there was the whole wave of cancel everybody for absolutely everything.
Yeah.
And now there's the wave of absolutely not.
Yeah. People are starting to wake up
Foot
to
down.
Yeah.
Nope. Burned me once. Okay, my bad. Now we're at twice or 3 times. Nah.
Yeah.
Nah. Nope. And here's the thing, man. The lesson and cycle and pattern repeats itself until it's learned.
Yeah.
And I don't think it will end well, and I'm putting that in quotes, for the people who are trying to get rid of everybody's rights so that they fall into this Christian sort of myopic way of operating, this Southern Baptist Christian, we control women's bodies. We have the understanding based on the Bible in our way. That I don't think is going to end well. And, I grew up super Christian, and I still have love for and a deep connection with the entity that I call Jesus, but I do not do it by way of a religion. And I just don't think it's going to end well. And so I just want to say that on record, that trying to control everybody and make it like it was in 1921 or 1888 or whatever the part of America you think was better when there was, quote unquote, more white people controlling everything and black people were in their place and Mexicans were back in Mexico or whatever the case may be. I don't think that's going to end well for the people who are trying to make it happen.
I agree.
You just can't stop the people. You can't stop progress. You can't stop evolution. And what's done in the dark will always come to the light.
Yeah.
And there is a truth that cannot be buried in these bills and these things they're passing in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm. They're trying to bury that.
Yeah. They can buy all the farms, but we can just hop the fences, right? Like, starve people, do it.
Yeah.
Cut off the water, see what happens.
Yeah.
See what happens.
100%.
Yeah.
We drifted to politics.
Yeah, we got there.
But it's real.
We got there.
But it's real. How are you guys doing on time?
Probably close to ending.
I've got to head out soon.
Okay, so let me I'll ask one more audience question and then I'll end it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we know some of you aren't going to like us, especially me now that I said all those things, and I still love you.
Yeah.
I still love you.
Yeah. And here's the thing. We totally get that not there's no person that's all bad or all good, right? Like humans are humans, and we truly get that it's so gray. Mm-hmm. And while we don't agree with certain people, there could be things we agree about that they do, but we don't agree with the majority of what they do. And so again, going back to this idea of giving people the right to feel and think, how they feel and think, and to say what they want to say is the privilege of living in this country.
Right.
And we have to protect that at all costs.
Yeah.
Right. Even the person that is saying, kick them all out, I don't care.
Right. Even that. I don't agree with you.
I still believe they're doing the best they can with what they know.
Yeah. Yes. And again, fear goggles.
With what they know.
And most people have fear goggles on.
Yeah.
And they're like, these people are taking our jobs, and they're this and they're that. It's like, okay.
Yeah,
I can't argue with your reality. That's your reality. It's not mine. Therefore, we think differently.
Yeah.
Different perceptions. Yeah.
All right. Last question. If someone listening feels like they're behind in love or healing, what would you say to them?
Easy. For me, it's like you're right where you need to be. You are so right, on time. You haven't missed anything. There is magic, there is lessons, there is juju, there is expansion for you in this season of life. And if you think that you're supposed to be somebody else, you are missing the invitation of this season. And there's something there for you that you need to get. And we talk about this a lot. The caterpillar versus the butterfly, right? The caterpillar has an inherent knowing, there's more. I don't know what it is yet, but I know there's something else. But all it knows is grass, milkweed, dirt, rocks. That's all it knows is the ground. But it has this, I know there's more. I don't know it, but I know. And then you're in the chrysalis, and the chrysalis is like, oh my gosh, I'm dissolving. Everything I thought I know is gone. I'm goo right now. I'm nothing. Dissolving the old self in order to become this new self that has always been known. So for someone that's like, I know I'm supposed to meet my person, you might still be in caterpillar phase right now, where you know, but you got to eat more milkweed to get ready, to get into the chrysalis, where you still have to go through the fucking biggest breakdown of your life in order to be ready for the wings that you know are on your heart.
Facts.
And on your soul. Some of you are in the chrysalis and you're like, why is it so hard? This is the hardest time of my life. This is the hardest chapter. Because you are being tempered, you are being prepared, you are being prepped and readied for what's coming. And the butterfly consciousness is not the same as caterpillar consciousness. So it's going to require something in this season to be moved through. So welcome it in, stop resisting it, say yes, and find the magic in it.
That.
Love that.
A couple things are popping up. Number one of the most important things we can do when it comes to all of this, sort of dovetailing the conversation we just had, is to care but not carry. And one of the magical things, the part two to that, is love what you can and build on that. So I care. I care about humanity. I care about my health, the health of my children. I care about our relationship, but I will not carry humanity's burdens with me. I will care, but I won't carry. And in that same breath, I will love what is, I will love what I can, and I will build on that love. Everything else is an illusion. Based in that question, there's a metric to where that person thinks they should be. And shoulding on ourselves is one of the worst crimes you could do against all of humanity because it skips over what is. If you can just open your heart 1%, 2%, 3% more today. If you can open your heart, your mind, your body, your spirit, if you can open it just 1% right now and build on that, you have the blueprint for stepping into the fullness of your potential. I think what that person was alluding to is they feel there is music on their heart that they can't quite hear.
Yeah.
And the music and the dance partners all reveal themselves on a need to know basis as we fall in love with what is and build on that. That's the invitation.
I love that. Well, it's been great.
Yeah.
I feel like the audience is going to have so much to take away from.
We went a lot of places.
But I appreciate having you guys on again. And it's always a pleasure. We definitely got to do this for the third time because I feel like there's still more.
Yes,
There's
always.
still more to unpack.
Always.
But yeah, appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
If you want to get in some space and do some work with us, go to thebridgemethod.org. Thebridgemethod.org. We are in Austin. We're in Australia. Come find us. Come play with us. Come give yourself the gift of doing embodiment work in a safe space.
Yes.
Awesome. Love that. Signing out.
Woo-hoo.
This is the Sacred Thomas Podcast.